So as Simon said, thank you for joining us today. My name's Rebecca Gillespie and I'm an immigration advisor in the Visa and Immigration team at the University of Nottingham. Myself, Catherine, so an immigration advisor in the team, will be talking to you today about submitting an overseas student visa application. So the presentation will go through some frequently asked questions. We will be looking at how to prepare for your application and giving a general guide in terms of the overall process. At the end of the presentation, as Simon said, there will be an opportunity for you to ask any questions that may not have already been covered within the presentation itself. So as I said, we're going to be looking at visa frequently asked questions within this presentation. And for the purpose of this presentation, so just for a bit of fun, just to test everybody's knowledge and understanding before we get started. So I'm just going to launch this now so that hopefully you'll be able to see it on your screen in a moment. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that now. Yep, I'm getting a thumbs up, thank you. So first of all, the first question is, if your current visa expires on the 1st of August and your next course starts on the 22nd of September, can you apply for your next student visa in the UK? So yes or no. We're not going to be doing anything with these answers. It's just to allow you to interact, and then hopefully, if you don't know the answer now, you'll know it shortly. Presentation. Everybody's on the 1st of August, and your new course, you wouldn't be able to apply to extend your student visa in the UK. Next question, which will be, when will you receive your CAS? So the options are when you firmly accept your unconditional, when you complete your university registration, when you conditional offer. And the correct answer here would be when you firmly accept your unconditional offer. Like to the slides, Kath. Yeah. Okay. We're looking at frequently asked questions, and we're going to be covering things like that and many other things which will hopefully leave you feeling well prepared for your student visa application. So first of all, we're looking at, can I apply for my visa in the UK? So this is a common question that many prospective students ask. So you can only apply to extend your student visa in the UK if your course starts within 28 days of your current visa expiry date. So if there is a gap of more than 28 days between your current visa expiring and your new course starting, then you would need to apply for your student visa from overseas. Your CAS will confirm your course start date. So for example, if your current visa expires on or before the 25th of August 2025 and your new course starts on the 22nd of September 2025, then you must apply for your next visa from overseas. Okay, so next up is, when will I receive my CAS? So again, this is another common question that we get asked. And you will not receive your CAS until you have met all the conditions of your offer, and then you will then need to firmly accept your unconditional offer. So CAS is short for confirmation of acceptance, and it's about yourself and the CAS and in your visa application. Students who already have a visa which allows them to study in the UK do not need a CAS. So, for example, a dependent visa or a BNO visa. You will be asked to show your visa when you register at the University of Nottingham. If you need any advice about different visa types that you plan to study with, then please do contact the Visa and Immigration team directly, and we'll be happy to help and advise. It's helpful to have a copy of your CAS open when you are filling out your visa application to ensure that all of your details match. However, a separate document to submit with your visa application is not necessary, as your CAS is a live electronic document, and this will be accessible to the caseworker when they are checking your application. Okay, so next we're looking at when will I get my CAS. So you won't receive your CAS until you have met all the conditions of your offer. You will also need to firmly accept your unconditional offer in order for your CAS to be issued. CAS verification. So once you have met all the conditions of your offer and firmly accepted your unconditional offer, colleagues in admissions will begin the CAS issuing process. You will receive an email to ask you to check your CAS information in your Nottingham hub. You'll be sent instructions on how to view your CAS details. It's important that you check all of the details are correct. You will have the opportunity to verify or to report any errors. You'll be asked to confirm if your time studying in the UK will exceed 5 years. Please note this only includes courses at degree level or above. Once you have verified that your CAS details are correct, you should receive your CAS within 5 working days. Our next frequently asked question is, what financial evidence do I need? It's really important that you prepare this in advance, as incorrect financial evidence is the most common reason visa refusal. How much money do I need? If you'll be self-funding your studies using your own or your family's funds for your visa application, you need to show that the required funds have been saved in your own or a parent or legal guardian's bank account for at least 28 consecutive days prior to submitting your online visa application. If the funds fall below the required amount at any point during those 28 days, you will need to start counting 28 days again. The funding that you will need to show is 1 year's full tuition fee plus living costs. Your tuition fee will be confirmed on your CAS. You will then need to show living costs up to a maximum of 9 months, so £10,224. This group will need to prepare the full amount in terms of living costs. So that will be 1 year's full tuition fee plus living costs, £10,224. And these funds need to have been saved for at least 28 consecutive days prior to submitting your online visa application. It's worth noting at this point that the university cannot confirm any accommodation payments that you may have already made on your CAS. You should therefore ensure that you that you only pay for any necessary deposits if you are relying on these funds in order to meet the student visa financial evidence requirements. The university is able to confirm any tuition fee payments that you have made in advance. If you are relying on these payments in order to meet student visa financial evidence requirements, please ensure that your CAS confirms the correct amount under the course fees paid section of your CAS prior to submitting your visa application. Here on the screen, you will see we have linked our funding requirements webpage. This provides really useful, detailed guidance in terms of the financial evidence visa requirements and the different funding methods that you can rely on. So please ensure that you do refer to this webpage prior to submitting your visa application. So next we're going to look at the different funding methods that you may rely upon. So here we have listed the main funding methods that can be used for the student visa application. So first of all, bank statements. So if you're self-funded, it's likely that you will be relying on bank statements. So this should be a personal account, not a business account. This account can belong to you or your parents or your legal guardians. If you are using a parent's or legal guardian's account, you must also include your birth certificate or a certificate of adoption. You will also include a letter signed and dated by the account holder, and this will confirm your family relationship or guardianship and will also confirm that the funds shown in the bank account are for you to use for tuition fees and/or living costs whilst you're studying in the UK. It's important to note that you cannot rely on bank statements from extended family, such as grandparents, aunts or uncles. This will not meet the student visa financial evidence requirements. Funds need to be in cash, which can be immediately accessed. Next, you may be receiving official financial sponsorship. So this can be from a government, British council, university, or an international company. The definition of an international company is that they have offices in more than one country. If you have official financial sponsorship, you will submit a sponsor letter with your visa application. The university cannot confirm any external funding on your CAS. If you will have a university scholarship, this should be confirmed on your CAS, and so you do not need to submit any kind of confirmation letter with your visa application. Next, you may have a student loan. If this is applicable to you, please refer to the funding requirements webpage linked on the previous screen for further details on the requirements and what's involved here. Just to say, we will share the slides, so you will be able to look at all of this. We're looking at different evidence. So this is referring to students who are from a country listed under different environments. If you are included on the list, require financial application. Please check the gov.uk webpage, which is linked here on this slide, to check if your nationality is in this list. If your country is on this list, it is important that you do still prepare your financial evidence prior to submitting your visa application. Whilst you are not required to submit this evidence at the time of submitting your online application, it can be requested at a later date. And so it is important that you are able to demonstrate that you did meet the financial evidence requirements at the time of submitting your online visa application. The Home Office, if they decide to request this later, will give you a deadline, and you will need to ensure that you can submit that evidence within the time required. Okay, so moving on your screen now, you will see a sample bank statement. Don't worry if you can't see this too well at the moment, because we're going to look at this in more detail over the next couple of slides. But this is a sample bank statement, and it shows a number of essential pieces of information that would be required when submitting your student visa application. So if we look at the screen now, you can see that you can clearly see the financial institution's name and logo. It will also need to say your name or your parents' or legal guardian's name, so who the account belongs to, and it will also show the account number. Next, the caseworker is going to be looking to see a transaction history. So this is a list of credits and debits to your accounts. So money coming in and money going out. This needs to clearly show that the required funds have been saved for at least 28 consecutive days, and the funds must not drop below the required amount at any point during these 28 days. It also needs to be recent, so your last transaction date should be no older than 31 days when you submit your online visa application. So next we have a sample certificate of deposit. So these are common in some countries and can be used within a student visa application. When we're looking at this type of evidence, we're looking at two dates. So we're looking at the date that the statement was printed, so the top circle date. And then we're also looking at when the funds were deposited, so that would be the date circled at the bottom of the screen. And if there are 28 days or more between these two dates, then this will meet student visa requirements. Okay, I'm moving on to the next slide. You will see that we have linked something here called Oanda. So Oanda is a currency converter, and this is used by the Home Office. So just to note here that it's fine to use funds in any currency. These do not need to be in pounds. However, if you are relying on funds in another currency, you must ensure that you check the exchange rate on the day that you submit your online visa application. We recommend using Oanda because this is the currency converter that the Home Office will be using when they check your application. Also, just to confirm that if your bank statements are not in English, and these will need to be accompanied by official translations. It's also possible to rely on more than one bank account. So if you're using multiple accounts, you just need to ensure that the required funds are met clearly and that these funds have been saved for at least 28 consecutive days. They should also be recent, so a last transaction date no older than 31 days at the time of submitting your online visa application. And so moving on, passing over to Catherine, who's going to run through the rest for you.
Hello. So before I move on, I'm going to launch another little poll just to recap on the information that we just covered in terms. So I'm going to launch this now, and I hope that you can see it. I know there's a few problems with some people not seeing the slides at the moment that I can see in the chat, so I hope that's being resolved in the background. But if people could confirm they can see this new poll that I've just put on. There's 3 questions. Not sure if people can see it. Maybe not. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Dwen, who's confirmed you can see the poll. So as I said, 3 questions. First question is, what is the monthly amount required for living expenses when submitting your student visa application? So is it £785 per month? Is it no definite amount? Or is it living expenses of £1,136 per month for the first 9 months of your course, which equals £10,224, or the full course duration if it's shorter than 9 months? So hopefully, if you've listened carefully to the last few slides, you should get the answer, but it's all anonymous and we're not judging. It's not a real test. So that's my first question. Next question. In order to meet the student visa financial evidence requirements, you can submit your aunt's bank statement. Is that true or is that false? Again, hopefully you've got the answer. And then my final quick question. So if you're self-funded for your studies, so you pay for your own studies and you plan to submit bank statements with your application, how long do your funds need to be saved for? Is it 28 consecutive days? Is it 3 months? Or is it 1 year? And then you can submit when you've finished and you can compare your answers to everybody else's. Thank you to everybody who filled in the survey. I'm just going to close that now and move on. Okay. So we are moving on to other documents. So we've spent a lot of time talking about financial evidence because it's really important. It's the most complicated to understand, and it's the area where there are more visa refusals. So this is why we like to spend a lot of time on that, but there are about you're clear on that, and just a repetition about the differential arrangements that everybody, including people who are on the differential list, must prepare their financial evidence if they're applying overseas, because it may be required at a later stage, and then it's very difficult to backtrack if you didn't prepare it. As we mentioned also before, you may need official translations of any evidence that isn't in English. So that could be your bank statement, for example, or maybe your birth certificate if you're using your parents' bank statement, for example. So just prepare that as well. Official translations mean that it's a professional translator who has done the translation. Certain courses may require an ATAS certificate. So this is only if you're intending to study or research at postgraduate level in certain sensitive subjects. And the university will guide you and advise you on how to apply if you are going to be studying a course that requires an ATAS certificate. So that's just only certain subjects at postgraduate level doing research in particular. Some people will need to arrange to take a TB test. You can find out on the link, which is on the screen now, which countries are concerned. So it's certain countries, and depending on how much time you've spent there as well. So have a good read of that page to check if you are required to take a TB test or not, and make sure you plan that in advance. They're valid for 6 months, so you can take it in advance before you apply for your visa. In terms of qualification evidence, this is not usually required for people who are doing a course or applying for a visa to do a course at degree level or above. And because the University of Nottingham is a higher education provider with a track record of compliance, UKVI do not usually require these documents to be submitted with the application. So as you can see, fairly short list of other things that you need to prepare, but just check that these apply to you or not, and prepare them accordingly. Now, to help you with completing the online visa application form, we've got a guide. So it's called the 10 steps. As we said before, we're focusing on the applying overseas application form because people in this group will mostly be applying overseas. We've got the distance learners in this group. We've got people who've already finished at the college and whose visa will expire quite soon. So this is why we're focusing on that. And if you go to the link on this slide and start from step 6, you will find a step-by-step guide. So we've kind of screenshot the different pages of the online application and given you some guidance on how to answer the questions. They are fairly straightforward, but sometimes a little bit confusing. So please use this tool because it will really help you to fill in the application correctly. Okay, moving on to the visa application process. So what you can expect when you go and apply for your visa. Again, we're focusing on applying overseas because this is what most of this group will be doing. So first of all, you prepare all your documents before you start. Don't start applying before you've got all your documents ready. So you've got all your documents ready. You'll need to go online, fill in the visa application form and pay the fees. So there's 2 sets of fees to pay. You first of all have to pay the immigration health surcharge, which is £776 per year that your visa will be granted for. And this fee is to enable you to have access to the health services in the UK once you are here. And then secondly, you'll pay the visa application fee, which is £524. Once you've done that, you've submitted the form, you've paid your fees, then you will need to book an appointment at a local visa application center in order to give your biometric details. So that's your fingerprints and a picture of your face, and also submit your passport. And the link on this slide will give you a list, and you can find your nearest visa application center. It's important that you start this process of submitting the application and booking the appointment early because it can take time. There's sometimes a bit of waiting for an appointment, so don't leave it to the last minute. Once you've submitted the application online and you've attended the appointment, then the decision should come in 15 working days. However, as we get more into the summer period, UKVI gets more and more busy because every university starts around the same time. So it could take longer. So 15 working days are not guaranteed. So it's important that as soon as you're ready to apply, really, you just go ahead and do it rather than just wait because things can get delayed, especially as we get into August. Okay, so I can see questions popping up on the side. So I can see somebody talking about BRPs, and I'm going to come to that and tell you how you will receive your visa. But yes, you're right, BRPs are gone. The UK government stopped issuing those last year, actually. So no BRPs this year. For students who apply at the start of the summer, which is the picture on the top right of this slide, and that will be valid for 90 days. And you need to ensure that you come to the UK during the validity of this vignette. Now, these vignettes are going to be phased out, which means the UK government is going to stop even issuing the vignettes at some point in July. We're not sure when exactly, but obviously you'll find out about that. You'll receive guidance, and the visa application centres will also inform you of that. And then setting your full visa, so you've got the vignette, which is just for you to enter the UK, really. Then for your full visa, it will be an e-visa, so an electronic visa. And you will be able to view it online, and you will be able to share it with others online as well. So there will not be a physical visa anymore, which is a bit strange because before we had BRPs and you could show that. But there are ways to share your visa and view it online. And as I said, for people who apply later in the summer, once they've stopped issuing the vignettes, then you will only have an e-visa. Now, in terms of accessing your e-visa, so once you've received a visa decision, you'll get some instructions on how to link your UK VI account to your e-visa. So you'll have to create a UK VI account to be able to manage your e-visa, to be able to see it, to be able to share it. It's done via an app. So it should be quite straightforward to use. And as I said, you'll have instructions. You'll just need a smartphone to be able to use the app to create your account. And then once you have created your account and you've linked your e-visa, you'll be able to generate what's called a share code in order to share your visa with people who need to see it, such as the university or maybe employers, for example, at a later stage. So in terms of getting ready for registration at the university, just a few things that from a visa point of view, we would like you to remember and do at that point. So as I said, you'll need to provide your share code to us. So it's a code that you can generate once you've created your UK VI account and linked your visa, so that the university can check your visa. It starts with S, and you'll be able to share it with us via an MS form. So there's a link on this slide to the MS form. Now, please note that you won't be able to access the MS form just yet, because you need to be logged into your university email account in order to be able to access it. And that is only possible up to 4 weeks before your course start date. So it's too early now to do any of this, but just maybe have a reminder that about 4 weeks before your course starts, you can start sending your share codes to us via this MS form. You can also email documents to our email address, which is on the screen, with your ID number if the form doesn't work, for example. But preferably use the form once you've been able to set up and access your university email. There is a lot of information about in-person registration on the university website that's available already. So if you want to have a read of that and familiarize yourself with what the expectations are for registration, please do. You will still have to show up and do an in-person registration, because we still have to scan your passport. So and it's good to be able to meet the team, etc. So that will still be required. We'll need to see your passport. If you have a vignette sticker, then we'll need to scan that also. And if you don't have a vignette sticker, if you only have an e-visa, then we will need to see evidence of when you arrived in the UK. So when you travel, make sure that you keep your boarding passes, for example, or your flight booking tickets, even if they're just on your phone. Please keep hold of these, because they may be required when you register in person. And another thing to remember is that you must complete in-person registration within 3 weeks of your course start date. So it's important that you sort that out quite quickly once you arrive. Okay, finally, that's my last slide with a lot of information on how to avoid a visa refusal. So if you've listened carefully to all the advice we've given you, you should be good anyway. But just a few things that are common problems. So first of all, make sure that you understand how much money you need to save. Check again that you understand the level of funds that you need to show in your bank account. Make sure that the money has been saved for at least 28 days in your account or in your parents' account, and that it's saved in an institution that maintains good records, that you're able to get a bank statement from them, for example. Make sure that the 28-day rule is met very clearly. So caseworkers are very busy with decisions. So if you give them perfect evidence that is really obvious, that will really make their work a lot easier. So think about that as well. You know, if you were in their shoes and you had to assess lots of visa applications in one day, you really love to see nice evidence that's very clear. So make sure that your bank statement has all the information needed, your name, your account number, and that it shows very clearly that the money's been held for 28 consecutive days, and that it doesn't dip below the amount that you need even for one day, because then that's, you don't meet the requirement. Make sure also that this evidence is recent. So as we mentioned before, the last transaction needs to be in the last 31 days. So that's another thing to check. Remember that you can't use other family members' bank accounts apart from your parents or legal guardians or yourself. So don't use anybody else's bank account. And finally, if in the unlikely event that your visa is refused, then please contact our team and we can give you advice on what your options are. It may be a mistake. There may be time for you to reapply. We'll need to consider each case on a case-by-case basis. Okay, and I'll end the slides with a contact slide. So this is our email address, immigration-support@nottingham.ac.uk, and you've got our telephone number there as well. So we are here during the summer. Sometimes students think that we go away during the summer, but unfortunately, no, we are still at work. So we do answer inquiries throughout the summer, and it's the same for our phone line. It's open between 10 and 4 every day during weekdays. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine and Rebecca. That was very, very useful and very comprehensive. I'm just going to stop the recording now.